Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Town Hall. We are right at the top of the hour here. Hopefully the camera will zoom in, but if not, that's okay. You're not here to see us. So we're going to get rolling on the Town Hall. Appreciate everybody being here today. We've got a lot to cover. My name is Brad Tompkins, and some of the best ways to get me probably is XDM. My DM's open. So if you want to shoot me a DM, you're more than welcome to do that. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Hey, Simon. That's a good way to do it. We'll throw my contact info in the chat later as well. I know many of you are on WhatsApp, which I'm on that quite a bit. I'm also text, cell, Signal, Telegram, multiple Slacks, Discord. You can find me, trust me, all over the place. So for those of you that are new to the Town Hall, we do these every other month, and they are different every other month. And the purpose of this, the purpose is always the same, but the purpose of this is for us to keep our members up to date on what's going on. Big shock here, but there's a lot of changes going on in IT, a lot of changes going on in the Broadcom ecosystem. I know we're all aware of that, and we are trying to keep you up to date on those kind of things. Broadcom is probably on this call. You know, this is opened up to any members, and Broadcom, of course, is members as well as partners and end users. So that's something that we give that feedback to them. We work closely with Broadcom. We're an independent org, but we work closely with Broadcom and we share that feedback. And at the end of the day, it's about keeping you up to date on all things as VMUG. If you're new to VMUG, we're an independent org, tightly aligned with Broadcom. Our membership is free. We do have a paid membership option that we'll get to here in a minute, but we just encourage everybody to be a member. Membership is free, and get involved in your local chapter. And that way you can find out what's going on and just get connected to people that are using VMware and have been for years. It's a great opportunity for you to learn a lot of things and hopefully give back as well. Yeah. All righty. So moving on here, let's go through some VMUG updates. So VCF 9 is launched, and no, VMUG did not launch VCF 9, but the reason this is a VMUG update is because of our June global virtual event. Let me tell you, this thing was packed. We had over 5,000 people that registered for this. I think nearly 3,000 people attended. I'm sure that's over that now with the on-demand. That QR code will take you to on-demand. These things aren't possible without our sponsors. So thanks to Valley Cyber and Zerto for being a sponsor of this event. But man, look at that lineup. Hawk Tan, Paul Turner, Purnima Pradmanaban, Chris McCain. I mean, these are people that you see on Explore main stage. I'm not involved in what's coming up at Explore here in Vegas soon, but my guess is you'll see those faces again. So my point is two things. One, this is a VMUG event, and we have got the Broadcom top brass at these events. Number two is they chose to use VMUG to launch VCF 9. So this was their launch event, and they did it with VMUG. Obviously, that probably had a lot to do with the numbers that we saw, but that just goes to show the collaboration between Broadcom and VMUG. It's very strong. I get this question a lot. You know, now that VMware is no longer and it's Broadcom, what kind of support are we seeing? And I know it's going to be hard to believe, but we see more support than we did in the past, which is a bold statement because VMware obviously tremendously supported VMUG. And I can say that that has not slowed down. If anything, that's accelerated. So check out the June Global Virtual Event on demand. Lots of good content there. Paul's session was really good, just kind of an overview. If you hadn't caught up on everything that's going on with VCF 9, that's a great way to do it. So lots of good things going on there. All right, other webcasts and things that we have going on from a VMUG perspective, that QR code will get you to all our webcasts, but we want to mention some that are coming up. There's a couple on November 31st and August 14th with Valley Cyber. They're one of our top sponsors, and their solution is ransomware protection for the hypervisor. And a lot of our members really enjoy that session, and they enjoy the protection that they can provide. So I'm not here to push Valley Cyber, though I do encourage you to check them out. But it's interesting how many people, when they see that session, they're like, wow, that's one of the best sessions that I saw. So check that out. Intel's another great sponsor of ours, and they're talking about how to get your infrastructure AI ready. With the new chips they have coming out, there's ways you can save money with Intel just by upgrading your servers, making sure you got Intel chips in there because of the power consumption, which is a big thing for Europe. You know, there's a lot of reporting around, you know, carbon footprint and those kind of things. Of course, you can do that in VCF, but you combine that with Intel. It's a powerful solution. You might could tell, but I'm hot off a executive experience we did with Intel at HPE Discover, where I learned a lot of new things about Intel and what's going on. And obviously AI is what everybody's talking about. You can get started with AI with Intel, and you don't necessarily have to go out and buy gajillion dollars worth of GPUs that you may or may not be able to get. So it's a great way to get started on that. And of course, Broadcom is a regular on our webinars, and that one specifically is on how you can have database as a service. So lots of things going on there. Make sure you're getting plugged in, whether it's virtually, in person, preferably both. But we do have programs to cover you regardless of where you are and what your preferred method of delivery is. All right, so partners update. Now, this is a lot of information. I want to reiterate, I am not Broadcom, but this is what we know and what we're hearing. First of all, a lot of changes going on with the partners. So my point in bringing this up is whoever your partner is, have this conversation with them. MSPs have been reduced down. ISVs have been reduced down. You might have seen the news recently that come October 31st, CSPs are going to be reduced down. So what does that mean for you? Many of you may know that Broadcom, when they acquired VMware, unfortunately, as with any acquisition, there's some risks. And so the amount of people that were with VMware, it's a smaller number with Broadcom. And what they're doing, I should be more specific, what Broadcom is doing, they are relying more on partners to help get their customers up and running. So the majority of you are going to be purchasing from a partner. So if you have a partner you've been working with, whether that's an MSP or a CSP, make sure you're talking to them. Make sure they're still a partner. We had a partner that had sponsored with us in the past. We're looking to sponsor with us again later on. And I'm talking about this year. And then they got word they're no longer part of the partner program. So obviously that changes what they're going to do with VMUG. But I don't want you to be in that situation because you need to know what's going on and make sure your partner that you might be relying on is still a Broadcom partner. And look, there's a lot of cuts out there. From a CSP perspective, that is going from thousands, like in the VMware days, it was 3,000, 4,000, maybe even 5,000 CSP partners. CSP is cloud service provider, also known as vCloud Air. If you remember that back in the day, I used to work for a vCloud Air provider over 10 years ago. But anyway, I digress. So those cloud service providers are people that run VCF, and then they would give that service to you, just like a hyperscaler. Hyperscalers are included in the CSPs as well. With that reduction, and I'm hearing it's getting cut down to hundreds, from thousands to hundreds, you might have a workload in a current CSP that's not going to be a CSP going forward. And you need to know that. The deadline for the CSP is October 31st. So make sure you're having those conversations if you've got a workload in a CSP about what their plan is. Now, look, you're smart. You can do what you want to do. You could leave it in that CSP, and maybe they might not, be part of the Broadcom system. That is your workload. You make that call. You can move it to another CSP that is in the system. Maybe you bring it back on-prem with VCF 9. Lots of things going on there. But let me give you a little bit of the reasoning on why they're doing this. So with so many partners, the ability to support and make sure that everybody is running the right VCF, running it the right way is challenging. So you can be assured if somebody is on the cut and they made the cut, post October 31st, they're going to be running VCF in a manner that it should be run. The full stack, running VCF, I don't want to say 9, I'm sure they'll get to it if they're not already, but running the latest VCF. And the reason that's important to you is because Broadcom has introduced license portability. Now, this is not new news, but just some of you might not have heard it. So if you go to a CSP with license portability and you don't like their services, maybe their data center shuts down and they had to evacuate and you need to be in a different place. Maybe you expanded and you need a CSP that's, in a geographical region, let's say in Europe, in a country of Europe, and it's data sovereign and those kind of things. You have the ability to move that workload. And because everybody's going to be running the same system, and that's the magic of VCF, in my opinion, that workload, and this is all about where the workload works best. That workload can be at CSP A, CSP B, CSP hyperscaler. It could be on-prem. It could do all of those things in a matter of months, days, weeks, years, whatever. So it really gives the customer the ability to, flex their muscle, so to speak. And if you're not happy with a provider, you can change providers because that license portability. Obviously, the result of that is you might not have as many choices, obviously going from thousands to hundreds, but I would argue nobody's using hundreds of different, CSPs anyway. So you find the people in there that you like and that you work with and go with that. So just wanted to mention that on the CSPs. Again, the deadline on that is October 31st. Now is the time, if you're running workloads in a CSP, now's the time for you to talk to your CSP and find out what's going on. I should have said this in the beginning, but if you have questions, throw them in the Q&A. We're going to go through that at the end. Feel free to use the chat. We leave the chat open. I'll read that later on. Maybe I'll throw it into AI and just get a summary there. But nonetheless, we do read all of those and find out what's going on from that aspect. But if you have a question, throw it in the chat. And my Zoom here is circling, so I'm guessing everybody can still see me, right? We still live? All right. So maybe that's just that machine. All right. Broadcom updates. So from a Broadcom update perspective, obviously VCF 9 is launched, and this is an Advantage update. The reason this is in the Broadcom section is Broadcom has now added vDefend and AVI load balancers to Advantage. So if you're unfamiliar with Advantage, again, regular membership is free. VMUG Advantage is $210 US. You can use that community code to get it down to $189 US for a year. You get a lot of benefits to that. You get access to Tiaro, VMware AI tool. You get access to New Horizons discounts on training. I think it's what percentage off is it, Kendall? 15, 20%? Something like that. Whatever the discount is off the training, big discounts on that. And then you get some other home labs from some other partners. But the big thing by far is the ability to get VCF for your home lab for personal use only. It's not for production, personal use only. But you can get those that VCF software for personal use. Now, I will tell you, you probably heard this, but in the past, you would buy Advantage and you'd get the bits. Now you buy Advantage, you take your certification, then you get the bits. So that is an additional step there that you have to take, but it's worth it. That way you can get full VCF, 5.2's in it right now. Obviously vDefend and AVI is in it as well, but you do have to take your certification. This is the VCP VCF certification. That's the only one right now that will get you the VCF software for personal use. VCP-VCF. So VMware Certified Professional. VCF, of course, is VMware Cloud Foundation. There's two versions of that, admin and architect. Either one of them will work. Admin's a little bit easier than architect. Another thing I want to point out is back in 2024, Broadcom dropped the requirement to take the course before you can take the certification. So back then it was thousands of dollars to get hooked up, take the course and the cert. Now you don't have to take the course. You can go take your cert. How do you take your cert? Well, VMUG Advantage, you get 50% off. So it brings the cert price down to $125. You go sign up for it and you go take it. You put the code in, you get it for $125. Other places to take it. If you were at VMUG Connect in St. Louis, we offered free cert sets. If you're going to Explore in Las Vegas and you have a full pass, free cert sets. So that's something new that VMware is doing. So take advantage of that. If you, in DC, at the VMUG UserCon in DC, that's going to be November 6th, I believe. We're going to do a free cert sit as well. So there's places you can take your free cert sit. If you take that free cert sit, maybe you pass, maybe you don't. But if you don't, you can still use that 50% off for your next try. So if you're going to explore, take the cert sit. I know people that have taken it without any kind of prep and they passed. I don't recommend that. But if you've been running vSphere and vCenter and you've been in the VMware ecosystem for 3+ years, and I'm willing to bet that's the majority of us, you could probably take it with 5 or 6 hours worth of brush up study, couple courses here and there, and you would be able to take that. So just want to keep that in mind there for you. That QR code goes to Eric Nielsen's blog about Home Lab. And Eric is a great VMUG advocate. He works with Broadcom. He updates this blog often as things come out. This will let you know the steps to get everything. Now, I will say this, and this is important. If you've already passed your cert and you're already an Advantage member, when you go to the portal to get your bits, you will see VCF 5.2. You will also see VCF 9. That VCF 9 right now is just a 90-day key. I shouldn't say key because they're moving away with keys, but it's just a 90-day limit on that software. And here's why. VCF 9, and I'm probably going to get this technically wrong, but you'll get the gist. I'm sure somebody smarter than me on the call will pop in. But with VCF 9, there's no keys. So in the past, key distribution obviously was a little bit simpler. You type in your key, you're good to go. Now it's a process where you go to ARIA, it runs like a batch process, it gets uploaded to Broadcom, and then Broadcom enables whatever you've purchased in that environment. So for customers, that's super easy because they've already have the VMware environment, the Broadcom environment, they've got logins. You can see making that work for Advantage where it's for personal use. They've got to fix that, or I should say enable that. It's nothing to fix. We got to create that so that that process that's new in VCF 9 will work for the home labs. So hopefully that makes sense. But the two things you need to remember, that is scheduled to be done by the end of the year. So we are working hard to get that done. I say I shouldn't take any credit. This is all on Broadcom and their, teams that are magical at creating all this code and stuff. So know that we're looking at the end of the year to get that done. Number two, if you download VCF 9 now, which you can, just know it's a 90-day eval key only. So it will blow up after 90 days. So don't go build out all your home lab and, have this thing torn down in 90 days. So you've been warned, that's your PSA. My recommendation, if you're going to build something for long-term, go get 5.2. That way you've got it for the entire year of Advantage. And then when it comes time to 9.0 be available, you can do that upgrade, which would be a great learning process. And you can find out how all that works. And now you can use vDefend and Avi load balancers in your personal use environment, maybe to get ready to use that in your production environment as well. Or, some of you have some pretty sophisticated home labs out there and you're running your family IT, maybe you need some load balancing and vDefend in your home environment as too. So however you want to use it, it's all good. But that's the Advantage / Broadcom update there. More Broadcom updates, Explore. Explore's coming up. Can't wait to get back to Explore. It's like a family reunion. We all have a good time. Some of my favorite things is the keynote. I'm a big keynote guy. Love sitting in the keynotes. Sometimes I'm in the, maybe not front row, but pretty close up, which is always nice. So I do the keynotes. And then, let's be honest, the hallway track is rocking. The sessions are great. So obviously you're going to want to hit some of those. The session builder is out. But I would encourage you, especially if this is your first time, because if it's not, you already know this, but meet people, go to the receptions, go to the early breakfasts, talk to people in the hallway. It's awesome to see so many people from all over the globe getting together, talking about VMware, talking about VMUG, talking about IT in general. And it's just fun to hang out and see people again. It's like a big family reunion. VMUG will be there. We are a platinum sponsor. That's right, platinum sponsor at Explore. So we've got a huge booth. I think I got a preview of that booth coming up. And we've got a lot of things going on there. We do have the member reception where if that email hasn't gone out, it will be soon. I think it's gone out, but that's going to be at Wakuta, which is right next to the Palazzo check-in. If you've been to Vegas and have been to Venetian, it's right off to the right. It used to be a different restaurant, but they've totally redone it. I was in there about a month ago, maybe 2 months now. Fantastic food. We've rented the whole place out, and this is going to be the community party. It's going to have Be Expert. It's going to have Tanzu Vanguards. It's going to have the champions, and it's going to have VMUG members. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So looking forward to that reception at Wakuta. And I think that is that Sunday night?
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. All right. And by the way, I'm so rude. We've got Erica and Kendall here with us today. I meant to introduce them earlier, but nonetheless, they're here helping us out. So that event is on Tuesday. So yes, I think it popped up in the chat. You do have to RSVP for that. I think that space holds 400. So I would RSVP. You know how that works. Sometimes people come and go. So if you're 401, you'll probably get in. But I would register sooner rather than later on that one. So that's what's going on there. But speaking of our booth, you can see our booth right there. That's what it looks like. Subject to change. I do want to say that. We haven't put in all the final things, but that's what we're zeroing in on. And I know everybody's interested in the prizes. Of course, that's a Nintendo Switch in the bottom right. In that picture in the middle there, I happened to be on campus at Broadcom. Gosh, that was last week. And they had a Silicon Valley meeting. Let me tell you, this meeting had William Lamb. It had Frank Dinneman. It had Francis Wong. I'm like, man, the benefits of having a local chapter meeting on campus was amazing. But that is William Lamb's home lab setup that can run VCF9. Now, it does take both of those systems. And for all of that, I think it's like a $2,500, maybe $3,000 deal. So it's not cheap, but we're giving away half of that. So you can run VCF. You might not be able to run all of it, but you can run VCF. We might be able to squeeze out to give them both out so you can run it full. But pretty impressive there, the bill of materials. I'm sure many people know William Lamb. Go to the blog. You can find out what it is. You just look up Silicon Valley meeting, and it's all in there. So lots of fun stuff on that. Again, caveat, subject to change. You know how this goes, but definitely come by our booth. We're going to have a pub putt, which I'm not exactly sure what that is, but you know, putt and pub together, what could go wrong? So we'll be doing some fun stuff at Explore. So make sure you register. Side note, Explore Barcelona is not happening this year. So this is the only multi-day, well, I guess that's not exactly true, but this is the only Explore that they're doing. So make sure that you come to Las Vegas. Now, I know many of you in Europe and APJ and South America and LATAM, you know, maybe that, well, some of those is probably the closest one, but it's important to come to this. Again, the connections that you make, to me, is key. That's invaluable. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of Broadcom people there. You can find out what's going on, but it's the only one. So don't wait around for Broadcom, for Barcelona, because that one's not happening. But what they are doing, oh, I got to get to that slide in a minute. So make sure that you do your schedule builder. So these are some of the VMUG people, not all the VMUG people. I know there's plenty out there. If you're presenting and you're a VMUG member, leader, whatever, let us know. We're going to compile this list. But in order of, date here, Justin Sider, who is the VMUG board of director. He's also chief PowerShell officer. Is that not an awesome title or what? I got chief PowerShell officer. I don't know how you come up with that, but obviously Justin knows his way around a PowerShell, and he's with Belay Technology, and he's going to become a better problem solver. So that's going to be interesting. If you're unfamiliar with Belay, they work in the DoD space. They do a lot of cool stuff that he won't tell me. So I'll leave it at that. But anyway, he's on DoD. So then we got Brenda and Matt. So that's president and vice president of VMUG, talking about tales from Broadcom customers. This is what a lot of people like VMUG about is, real conversations from real customers. And then finally, we've been talking up the certification, level up and get certified. So you got Matt, Dave Simpson, who is on the VMUG board. He's London, UK, and Martin Brandresen, who's VMUG in Belgium. They're going to be doing a talk. They've done this talk before. It'll be updated, and it's always really good. So those are some of the sessions. If you're an Advantage person, come for some exclusive swag. And you can stop by that if you're not at Advantage. Of course, you can buy it at Explore, no problem. We will swipe that credit card for you. Actually, I don't know if we're going to swipe because that's kind of old school, but whatever, tap, put it in, however we're going to do it. We will take your money. And then the free cert sit, I mentioned that for full pass holders only, but take advantage of that. Even if you didn't prep, just go take it. You will, even if you fail, it didn't cost you anything, but you will learn more about the exam so you can go get certified, so you could go get Advantage and then get VCF for personal use. And then we always got tips for maximizing your Explore experience. I've already covered on some. Make sure you hit the hallway tracks. Make sure you introduce yourself to people, meet as many people as you can. Hit the keynote, wear comfortable shoes, bring a battery. It's Vegas, bring chapstick and drink a lot of water. And you're only there for like 3 or 4 days, so plan to go home tired. All righty, moving on here. So this is what I was leading up to. There is no Barcelona Explore, but there is Explore on Tour. So what they've done is they're not doing Barcelona, but they're doing Explore on Tour. You can see they're in 3 locations in Europe. They're in 3 locations in APJ. So sign up for these. The London registration is open. It is, you know what? I'm going to come back to London and I'll tell you what, you'll understand why. So Mumbai, Sydney, Tokyo, I believe are all complimentary. I think the ones in UK are going to be a nominal charge. I think that has to do with regulations and things. So it's going to be a nominal charge. Back to London. So London, I think it's £159 for day 1. Because if you look at the UserCon, you're like, well, wait a minute, Brad. I see UK UserCon the 18th. I see London EOT 17 and 18. What's up? We are combining forces. So we're excited about this. Day 1 is going to be Explore on Tour. Day 2 is going to be the UserCon. That UserCon typically is in Birmingham. We're going to have it in London. It's going to be the day after Explore on Tour. This is going to be the same UserCon that you know and love. The logos, everything's going to be the same. The agenda is going to be the same. V Curry's going to be there. And, what's a UK UserCon without a V Curry the night before? So the local leaders there are really working hard on that event. So we're excited about doing this together with Explore on Tour. So day 1, London is the £159. Check me on that. I could be off, but it's something like that. Day 2 UserCon is complimentary. Go to both. You might as well go to both. Be there in London for a couple days, spend the night, have a good time, attend V Curry. And then the next day you can hit the London, UK, and then we can get you out that afternoon. So that would be my recommendation for that one. Obviously, you can choose to do one or the other. Maybe it works out that you can just do the 17th and not the 18th or vice versa. It's all good. It's all good. So whatever works for you. We've got other UserCons, Atlanta, Boston, DFW, Cincinnati. I mentioned the DC UserCon that's actually going to be out in Reston, which is on the outskirts of DC, but it's brand into DC UserCon. We're going to have a free cert sit at that event. And then following that is we got the virtual event happen November 6th. So regardless of what UserCon you go to, you can be at a computer the next day for the virtual event that you can watch in the comfort of your own home or in the office, wherever you work nowadays. That's a topic for a whole nother conversation. All right, so we're going to do open Q&A. And while I was talking, my Zoom on this died. So I'm going to attempt to pop back in here. Hopefully this will work pretty quickly. If you got any questions on the Q&A, if you have any, see if I can going back. Say it'd be a whole lot easier if I can. Yeah. Do, and then it might. It says joining. All right. Do I need to get in the webinar? Y'all excuse us while we figure this out. My Zoom
have to
rebooted on me.
You should be able to see.
Oh yeah. All right. So I got the chat. Oh, I don't think my Q&A came up because I joined late. I got no questions. All right. Who can hand me a computer with Q&A? What we do, we're nimble and quick. That's the way life works. I'm sure this has never happened to anybody. All right. Are additional license required for DPU in VCF 9? Oh, wow. That's right out the gate. I don't know. Is somebody on the chat that maybe could answer that question about are additional licenses required for DPU in VCF 9? Sorry, I'm not sure I can help you with that one. I'll monitor the chat and see if that one will get answered on that one. All right, Anonymous, I have an Advantage membership as well as VCP Architect Cert. Congratulations. But couldn't see the VCF license download option. How can I get some help? Great question. Advantage@vmug.com. Maybe we can I'll throw that in the chat. I'll multi-task here. Advantage@vmug.com. It's hard for me to type, talk, and do all this kind of stuff. Send it to there. We'll be absolutely happy to help you out because you need to get those downloads. It's probably an email thing. If you took your certification with Broadcom with a different email than Advantage, they've got to be the same. So that's your pro tip. Make sure that they're the same. If they're not, no worries. Let us know. We can change it on our end. We can have Broadcom change it on their end. So whatever you need to do, but we'll get you hooked up. All right. Mr. Kenyon says, any info about Full Pass Explore free cert sit? Is it through the event or just one day, Thursday only, for scheduling? If you have asked about this, and I'd like to send comps to you, that is a good question. So the question was, is the cert sit throughout the whole day? I would imagine that's on the agenda, but knowing Richard, I'm sure he's exhausted all his resources to try to find that. So if Broadcom's on the chat and can answer, but that is a great one. We'll get back to that one.
I answered this.
Oh, we do have an answer. Let's see, Richard, moving this around. I can't see that good. All right, Richard, exam voucher that comes with full Explore Pass can be used anytime up to August 2026. Oh, and does not have to take place at Explore itself. So this is Chris Samuels that said that. I assume Chris is an authority on that topic. So to answer that, you get a voucher for it and you can take it at Explore, but you don't have to take it at Explore. That's kind of nice. Gives you the ability to go learn at Explore and take it later, though I've been a big proponent of taking it at Explore. All right, moving along here. Eric says, there may be an unofficial VMUG happy hour Sunday night sponsored by various local chapters. Magic of Explore right there. If these things pop up, you can go to happy hours and, of course, drink water because it's Vegas. You need to stay hydrated, you know, or something else if you want to. But thank you, Eric, for that information. All right, Tim asked, I signed up for Explore, but haven't received any code for the exams. Whom do I contact? You would need to contact Explore. So Explore is a Broadcom event. We are sponsoring that event. We're a platinum sponsor. We're participating in the event, but that is not a VMUG event. So Tim, try to find the email there. If that doesn't work, email memberservices@vmug.com and we'll try to navigate it for you. But that is not something that we can fix, but we're always happy to connect people up and get them help. All right. Watermar says, CSP partner and EEA will stay, correct? That's an information we received today. So I'm not sure what EEA stands for. So I'm not sure how to answer that. But my guess is there has been some conversation, or there has been some news about CSPs in US. Let me say it this way. The CSP changes might be different per region. Oh, European Economic Area. Oh, thank you. Okay, so that's probably what you're talking about. Yes, that's why it's important to talk to whomever your CSP is, because I do think there are different rules for the EEA, already using a new term there, that might be different than North America, and it might be different than APJ. It might be different per country. Obviously, Broadcom's a global company, and they stay in line with whatever regulations the countries have them do. So that's something that you need to dig into.
This is a question.
All right, question in the chat. We're done with Q&A, but I'll keep watching it. So if you got Q&A, go ahead and throw it in there. Oh, how much is the minimum memory size needed for a single rack server placed in a home to build VCF 9? 128 says Alan. I'll go with that. Here's the deal. More memory, the better. Obviously, some of these home labs, you kind of max out on what you can do. This is not going to run on a Raspberry Pi. Kind of a joke there. Never really did. But it's not going to run on a Nook. You're going to need some pretty powerful things. for this to work. Now, if you do have a Nook, I said it's not going to run on, it's probably not going to run well. I'm sure there's somebody out there that has hacked it to make it work, but you got to balance out the cost of the home lab, the cost to run the home lab, the spouse acceptance factor, all those things with how much function do you want it to have. Getting it up and running and it's so you really can't use it is not really that valuable. And so, yeah, I mean, look, VCF is a feature-rich product, and it's important for you to get experience in all of it, in vSphere, vSAN, NSX, automation, ARIA, those kind of things. So this is where, you know, if your company's not able to invest, maybe you invest into a home lab that can run it. I think the price for Advantage and the cert, you know, for $200-300, you can get VCF for your home lab. So the license shouldn't be the biggest thing. But look at that hardware. I think somebody threw in the chat William Lamb's blog. It was fantastic to have him present live at the Silicon Valley meeting. So good stuff on that.
Another question.
All right, another question. Y'all, you people need to be using the chat here.
The Q&A.
All right. What is the future of vCloud Director? All right, so I'll answer this one kind of maybe a little bit generically, but VCF is what the future is for Broadcom. It's the future for VMUG members. It's the future for VMware users, regardless of where they are. And VCF is the cloud operating model. In my opinion, what you'll start seeing is less about vCenter, less about vSAN, NSX. It's all going to be vSphere. Like you need to be thinking vSpheres. I'm running VCF. See, old habits die hard. But you need to be thinking that VCF is what you're running. VCF, VMware Cloud Foundation. I'm running a cloud operating model. The technology I'm using to run this is VCF. Now, to run the cloud operating model takes technology, what I would argue is the easiest, maybe the most expensive, but the easiest. And then it's people and process. You got to get your people and process lined up to take advantage of the cloud operating model. If you want to operate like AWS, Azure, Alibaba, you know, GCP, you have to be thinking like this. And I would argue that companies that are thinking like this, regardless of where you run your workload, run it in a hyperscaler, run it with a CSP, run it on-prem, but you need to be thinking about how to operate like this. And our members for years have been telling us, we want to move up the stack. We all know vSphere, but we want to know vSAN. We want to know more about NSX. We want to know more about ARIA. Well, guess what? That's VCF. So if you think of it as VCF being the one thing that does it all, and again, you can run this workload wherever you want to. It could be your on-prem or somebody else's, but you can do it anywhere. So I think that's the mentality shift that VMUG members is starting to go through. And one point from the business side of this, it doesn't take long to see articles out there, you know, X% increase, some crazy numbers out there. I can dig into those and debunk most of those because it's not comparing apples and oranges, but that's not the point. The point is your annual spend for VMware might go up. And the reason it's going up is you're getting more technology. So what VMUG members are now getting asked to do by their C-level folks is, all right, we're buying VCF. Let's make sure we extract all the value we can out of that. And there's a ton of value to get out of that. We're starting to hear from members that are like, you know what, I kind of took a leap of faith. I bought VCF and we're running it. You know, it's kind of like balance, VVF, VCF. Let's go ahead, spend a little bit extra, get the VCF. It'll pay off in the long run. Within months, they had some issue that happened and their vendor was like, well, you can fix that with VCF with what you've already bought. That's the kind of stories that we're starting to hear. It's very few right now because VCF 9 and 5.2, they're both still relatively new. But that's where it's going to go. And then you're going to look at what other software and what other things can I displace because we're doing it all in VCF. And that's something that, you know, that's a business decision that I'm hearing a lot of our members are having to, you know, that what they're hearing from their boss is like, look, we need to make sure we get the most out of this. We're IT. We do this all the time. This is no different than when vSphere came out in, you know, beginning of the 2000s. No different than, you know, think about it. Most of us are using either Microsoft 365, Zoom, Google, combination of both. They all do the same thing. So you're trying to figure out how to maximize, you know, that environment the much as you can, and maybe you dump one of those 3 different vendors. So that's kind of an analogy just to show that this is happening all over the place. A lot more complicated with VCF. I get it, because this is running your data center, and this is really making things, run and hum. But the good news is, and many of us have decades of experience in vSphere. VCF is all built off the some familiar GUI, and you can, move forward with this. So that's kind of my take on where things are going. Is it going to be cheap? No, it's not. A lot of people are going to end up spending more money on their VCF spend. It's hard to deny that spend last year for 1 or 2 SKUs compared to spend this year when you're buying full VCF. Obviously, that number is going to go up. It'd be like buying a tricycle to a car. There's a lot more benefits there. So the price, it's going to cost more, but I'm confident that enough people will, find the value in that we can, still be around. And I'll say, I hope this doesn't sound like a commercial. Obviously, I look at things through Broadcom color glasses. I'm not a Broadcom employee. VMUG is independent, but the VMware user group, obviously we got to have users to have a user group. And I'm not concerned about us going anywhere, but I'm just saying we're here to educate our members, and we're not here to sell VCF. Obviously, that outcome is sometimes the same, but at the end of the day, your product, your company, run the workload where it works best. If that's with VMware and you stay with Broadcom's hypervisor, great. If you need to go to a different hypervisor, not ideal for us, I'll be honest, but you're still welcome at a VMUG. You can still come around and talk about what's going on and those sort of things. And maybe it's a split scenario anyway. So run the workload where it makes the most sense. That's my take. All right, another question here. Did we get any more in the? No.
I didn't see any.
So this is from George. Most home labs get caught at the 10 gig network requirement. Is there a way to get past that? So, oh boy. So I think William said, and I shouldn't even said his name, but at the session, I think he mentioned that it's not a requirement for 10 gig anymore. I think that's something that has been removed in 9.0. Because I remember him talking about, I know you only need 1 NIC now for 9, and I'm really over my skis here, but 1 NIC now, and I think it's Alan saying possible to bypass, and if Alan says it, it must be gospel. So there you go. All right, lots of good questions here. All right, Helian, what will happen to the current vSphere standard and enterprise hypervisor license that are available? Are they going away? All right, so vSphere standard and enterprise, are they going away? This is a Broadcom question, but I think that standard has already gone away. In enterprise, I don't know what the path is for that. I'm not, candidly, I'm not even sure you can get that. VMUG is going to focus on VCF. Now, before you be like, oh no, I'm not going to use VCF. Think about it. VCF is everything. So if you buy VVF, sessions on VCF, some of those will cover VVF. And if you have enterprise, same thing. If you've got standard, same thing. Because they build on each other, if we focus at the top, then everybody else will have content. And you're smart enough to know if you're using VVF and this session is on NSX, you're welcome to come to it. Maybe you want to move up to VCF or learn what it's about or learn about the features. So that's why we're going to continue to cover all of VCF. But that's not included in your VVF package. So that's where it's up to you. You can create your own path on where you want to go and how you want to do it. But we're going to focus on VCF content. And again, that covers everybody else because, it builds on each other. So I hope that makes sense. All right, Tejas, what is the future roadmap of AVS with VCF 9? Can we get cost comparison from previous to new after Broadcom? All right, so AVS, I'm assuming that's Azure VMware solution. And I'm not aware of any changes on that. I don't know why they wouldn't go with VCF 9. I have not heard anything about that changing with Azure VMware solution. So, I would think that that's, going forward. Now, we talked about CSPs earlier, but my guess is these CSPs will eventually be moving up to 9. I would imagine that's probably a requirement. Obviously, people need roadmaps. They need to tell their current customers and you know, how that's gonna go. My guess is they're all on 5.2 now, if not all, most of them are. And then there'll be a plan to move on into 9 when they're ready to do that. You know, CSPs and hyperscalers, they're like the rest of us, right? You got to make sure that things are on the HCL and everything's compatible and networks are right, and you know, all those kind of things. So that's part of the reason you outsource it to an IaaS. You don't have to worry about those headaches. You just get 9 when it's ready. So I'd imagine AVS will be in that boat, as well as you know, GCVS and what's the new AWS one? EVS, I think is what they call it.
The only other one, and you kind of touched on it already, about the certification at Explore, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so is there a link I can get the more details on the cert voucher? Yeah, again, if it didn't come, I guess they're emailing it to you. That's a Broadcom program and a Broadcom event. But Chris, feel free to reach out to me or member services at vmug.com, and we'll try to get you going in the right direction.
That's all I see.
All right. Good stuff. All right. Well, we will end this here shortly. I'll give folks a chance to put in final questions here. I'm going to drop my contact information in the chat too. So on that, can't be right. Yeah. So on that is my cell. Oh, I didn't put my email. I'll be honest with you, email's not the best way to get me, but I'll get to it. It just, you know, don't hesitate to text me again. WhatsApp is my favorite messaging system, so big proponent of that. But nonetheless, yeah, Amazon EBS. So we had one more question. I lost my train of thought. Is NVMe storage mandatory to build VCF home lab? Oh, another good question. I don't know if it's mandatory, but I don't know why you wouldn't do it. In the bill of material, I mean, you know, there's cost concerns, those kind of things. So I do know, I do know about reasons why not to. But the NVMe in the home lab is, I mean, NVMe in memory tiering in general is pretty impressive. So I'd imagine you would want to use that in your home lab. And yes, Ryan, I shouldn't leave out OCVS. That's of course Oracle's cloud VMware solution there. All the hyperscalers are in there, and they got good stuff. So you could check them out, CSPs, whichever one it is. So appreciate that, Ryan, keeping me straight there.
There's one more question in the Q&A.
Oh, is there an ETA download tokens for VMUG Advantage license holders? All right, so Paul, so you can, I'm not sure what you mean by download tokens, but if you're talking about 5.2, you can go get your keys right now. If you're talking about the new, maybe they call it download tokens, but if you're talking about VCF 9, that process to get VCF 9, that ETA is at the end of the year. We are trying to move that up as much as we can. Again, I did it again, but I shouldn't say we. This is Broadcom's programming that's got to figure that out, just because of some of the changes that they've done to VCF 9 and how it's licensed. I don't know if it's technically a call home, but it's kind of a call home type feature. So they didn't have that with the keys. Now they got it. So we got to figure out how to get their system to allow our call home to be certified for our Advantage members, so they can get the download tokens, the bits, the keys, whatever they're calling it. And so that, to answer your question directly, Paul, end of the year is the timeline on that. Obviously, if we get it out sooner, we will let you know. All right.
Great.
All right. Well, it's always fun. Thanks for joining today. And I think that's our last slide there. So if you have anything else that you want from us, feel free to reach out to me directly. Member services, leader services, sign up for your local chapter. Make sure you check the box on whatever city that you're in or city you might be interested in attending. And that way you can stay up to date on everything that's going on. We are doing this again at 4 p.m. Central Time. If you would like to join again or tell your peers to join up for this, going to be the same deck, but always different conversations. So happy that you're here. Thanks for being a VMUG member, and we will see you at Explore. Thanks, everybody.